Rolling.
Rolling. G'day, Ben.
Hey, Ben. How you doing, mate?
How's it going?
Yeah, doing well.
Yeah, good.
Keeping busy?
Good. Yeah, man. It's been a very busy week, this one. And my main job has had a lot of shoots on in the last fortnight. So just wrangling the team there, and they're doing a great job.
Nice.
How about yourself?
Well, I'm actually back on the drum kit after I think it's been about 5 years since I've played, and it's been about 20 years since I've read music. Had an old muso mate offer a gig to play a musical, which the main reason why I'm doing it is because they're paying. But I haven't played drums, and when he threw the idea out, I was like, well, I've still got a drum kit in the shed, so I pulled it out and nervously had to play, and it was kind of like riding a bike. I'd say I'm sloppier than I used to be, but it was good. It's great to get back into it. I had 2 rehearsals on my own for a few hours each, and then I was in with the band, basically sight reading charts. So it's Rock of Ages, so it's sort of my wheelhouse because it's rock tunes, but it's been an interesting endeavor. But surprisingly, I've still got some chops, but mostly just good at keeping time. Just I'm not doing any.
Well, that's a job of a drummer.
Yeah, it's true.
That's a job.
It's true. I'm not doing any exceptional fills or anything, but it's not necessary. So it's been good. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. I'm sure the first session, like jumping on the kit, you had that moment of, why did I say yes to this?
Oh, 100%.
And then an hour later, you were feeling a bit better, I'm sure.
I think I could see that I still had some ability, but as soon as I started playing through some of the tunes, some of them I was like, what have I got myself into? And I was stressing. But once I got with the band and we started playing it, most of them were sight reading on the spot. So I didn't feel as bad because I'd done a little bit of prep. So, yeah.
Oh, that's a bit of fun.
Yeah, it's good.
I've been listening to some music in the last week or so. Have you heard of the band Scary Pockets?
I have, mate. I'm actually a really big fan of Scary Pockets, and also their other group, Pomplamoose, big fan of them as well. They're great dinner music for us, or when people come over, because, they do covers and stuff. I think it's just great when people come over. It's like really relaxed music, good dinner music, but people get to hear some of their favorite tunes and stuff. So, yeah, definitely into it.
I discovered them a few years ago, but lately I've become re-obsessed with them. I was obsessed with them a little while ago and forgot about them for a little bit, and then rediscovered them. And I flicked you a few links this week, of course, to listen to as you do. And there's some really cool new tracks that have come out. A couple of tracks that I didn't really think too much of the original song, like by the original artist. I won't mention who, but their covers have really brought a different spin on it and a different light, appreciation of the lyrics. I never really paid too much attention to the original lyrics until Scary Pockets did their cover. But yeah, really cool soul funk covers of all sorts of different tunes from the past.
Yeah, well, it's become really popular as of late to do covers, like obviously with music distribution being a lot easier and getting royalties and things paid out. Like these days your distributor can do a lot of that work. So I feel like artists are now capitalizing on that to do covers, because also, the connection that people have with a lot of these tunes. Like I'm seeing guys who are doing orchestral scores. There's obviously, Pomplamoose. Even my stepbrother Toshi, who does a lot of big band stuff, he's been arranging a whole bunch of concerts around themes. So whether it's like movie themes or certain artists, and they're really popular. I think one of his best sellers is he's got Monsters Inc., the theme to Monsters Inc. He put it on things like TikTok, and it's blown up. Like he's getting more plays and streams through TikTok than he is on, say, Spotify. And, it's just become real big hit of people doing these covers and stuff. And particularly, like Pomplamoose and Scary Pockets making these videos to go along with it. You get to see the band perform and stuff. So, it's very cool what they're doing. Definitely a big fan.
Yeah, so look, if you haven't heard of Pomplamoose, I'll read the blurb of what they call themselves on their YouTube channel.
Scary Pockets, you mean?
They're
Scary Pockets.
Scary Pockets, yes, apologies. No, Scary Pockets. They've got a lot of the same band members, so my brain gets confused between them. But YouTube, their blurb in the About You is they're a funk band that releases weekly music videos and covers. in a pursuit of funk. So they funkerize the original tunes and do it in their own version. So it's Ryan. I'm going to hack these names, so apologies, team, if this is not how you say it. But Ryan Lerman, and Jack Conte.
That sounds like a good
Sorry if I
effort.
said that
No,
wrong.
sounds like a good effort.
Yeah, good strike. And then they have a rotating roster of some of the finest session players in LA and California area, which is really, really cool.
And
so
don't they?
the band,
how good are some of those players? Like, ridiculous.
some of the musicians that come on, phenomenal, top notch.
I'm sure they're not doing many takes. They'd just be like, here's the idea, run it through once, and bam, they've got a, next line is a take or whatever. Like, it's just, phenomenal players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've watched a little bit of the behind the scenes because after watching quite a few videos of theirs, I thought to myself, I wonder what the process is to make these videos. Like, because they're assembling session players from all over town. So they're probably not doing that much rehearsals before doing the recording that we see. And obviously that's half the art of a session player is to come in and just quickly have a little feel of what's going on and then hit and record. But yeah, it's really interesting to see how they put it together. It's often that one of the guys will have an idea or a couple of ideas and they'll just start playing and it'll start with a jam and they'll all sort of start joining in and the guitarist go, I'll add this part. And then someone's like, yeah, I love that. Keep that.
Yeah.
Or I like the second half of that. Don't play the start. Someone else will play the start of that. And so it's really just kind of like putting these tracks together on the fly.
Yeah. Well, I've seen like on their Instagram, if you follow the Instagram, I'm not sure if it's Pomplamoose or Scary Pockets, but there are lots of great clips of that where they're just figuring it out. Like sometimes they might have someone with the base of an idea. And then, as you said, someone will be just faffing about and they're like, oh, I love that. Or, the drummer would play something or, the keyboardist, Ryan will just be like, give me a, and he'll beatbox something or whatever. And the drummer will play it, but then like add something else. And they're just like, oh, that's it, And it is amazing how they like create something from nothing. And that's what you get when you have guns in a room, right? They just come up with gold and figure it out real quick. So yeah, it's very cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think Jack is the keyboardist and Ryan's the guitarist.
Oh, yeah, sweet. Sorry.
But
Thanks
that's right.
for correcting me.
We'll get not only the bands confused, but we'll get the people confused.
They're all interchangeable, right? They're all guns.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm sure Jack can play guitar very well, and I'm sure Ryan can play keys as well. Because that caliber of musicians that I'm sure they're ambidextrous when it comes to the instruments.
Yeah.
But not only the tunes that I like, that they're funkerizing and playing tastily with amazing musicians, but the recording and the mixing of their productions is just top notch.
This is partly why we started this podcast, or I guess we talk about having similar ears and really like your taste is my taste, and you're right, like the quality of the recordings, the fact that they're using beautiful, vintage mics, and they're using stuff that when this style of music was created, they're using those mics and the Rhodes and, all that kind of stuff. They're really like bringing you back to the good old funk days. And you're right, whoever's mixing them like is just nailing it. Like overall, it's obviously comes from great tones, so great guitar amps, great choice in amps and tones, but then they're choosing great mics, and then whoever's mixing it is just nailing it. When they've got that warm mid vibes that we love, and they're nice and full, and they just nail it. Definitely everyone should be checking them out for sure.
There's been a few exceptions to this, but I believe it's Caleb Parker who's their sort of recording and mix engineer. So he does the capture as well as the mix. And after listening to a few of the Scary Pocket recordings, I had to do a bit of a deep dive on Caleb because I'm like, who is this guy? Because he is kicking it.
Yeah.
So he does both Pomplamoose and Scary Pockets, but there is a few times where there's been a couple of other people taking the reins for different episodes or videos. And you're right, it's they're really authentic with the way they want to capture it, especially being that they're not going for a very super modern sound. They're often taking modern songs and giving them a bit of a taste from the past. And the recording process or the recording sort of setup is quite simple. Often in modern recordings, you'd have a drum kit with mics all over it, top and bottom toms, top and bottom snares, 3 kick drum mics, rooms and overheads. It's often that the drums might be recorded with 3 mics as a whole.
Yeah.
So they're going with a really simple, authentic, old school vibe, which I think adds to the character of what we hear when we listen to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, which is fun. It's a lot of fun.
It's great that they're obviously capturing it on video as well, you know, to be able to see the band actually perform. And like for a lot of people, they consume their music on YouTube and things like that. Like even with podcasts, you know, the reason we do a video podcast is a lot of people like, even if they're not always watching it, they like to have that vision there. And it's great, obviously, to be able to see the band perform and watch them, you know, with their chops, and also to know that these are one takes. They're literally, they do a take and that's it. And it sounds great, looks great, performs beautifully and stuff. But it is nice having, you know, you can obviously just listen to them on Spotify when you're out on the road, but to be able to have quality videos that you can either put on your TV or actually just sit and listen and watch at the same time. And also you get to see faces and see the artists and stuff too. But it is, I guess it's become popular again, you know, for artists to make multiple bits of content for their songs, whether it's performing their tracks in different locations, on a stage, in a studio. But I think they've really nailed their niche of just a cool looking studio space and all coming together and just nailing a take together. They're not overdubbing anything. It's just raw and it is what it is.
Yep.
You know, even having the singer in the room, like they're really doing it as raw as possible. And that's how you get the vibe and get the band just jamming really well together. It's really cool.
And how does that differ to modern recording?
Okay. For, I guess, the layman's person, as you talked about, you know, when it comes to recording stuff, everything's got to be pristine and clean, right? So you put a drummer in their own room and they've got, you know, an abundance of mics. They might even have room mics and all that sort of stuff. But a lot of times everything's recorded separately. It depends the band. Like I know, you know, Carnival, one of my favorite bands, a lot of times they'll record certain parts as a group and then either overdub different things separately or whatever it might be. But most bands and most times I've recorded, depending on what style it is, the drummer will either be playing maybe with the bass player or the guitarist, but kind of just they're rough in the different room. And they'll just play it out to get the drums done. Then everyone records their bits separately. The bass does, then you get the guitars and they might double it up. So they'll record it twice to fatten it out and widen it out. And so, and, you know, all the way through to then the singer, but everyone's separate. And, you know, you'll get a more polished sound, a cleaner sound, an easier to mix sound because everything's been isolated from each other. But at the end of the day,
you sometimes lose a little something,
lose
don't you?
that kind of joint vibe. But it does depend on the style of music. Like, you know, if you're doing a metal track or something like that and you just want it like, you know, pristine and you know, dead on time. And a lot of the times they'll do drum edits and things and make them tighter and cut them up and all this sort of stuff. So you wouldn't be able to do that if you had the whole band playing together. So, you know, it just depends on what kind of music you're creating and stuff as well.
It really does show the musicianship.
Oh, for sure.
The caliber of musicians that the Scary Pockets band pull together for them to play so on point when it comes to the vibe, but also accuracy as well.
Yeah.
Like,
well, even I noticed, so the last one, sorry to interrupt, but that last video you sent me, I was watching it and I'm like, they are just locked in. And I noticed the drummer doesn't have any ears or anything. He's not playing to a click.
He does have ears.
Did he? Was it? Oh, maybe it was a different one that I saw, but the drummer, it didn't look like he had ears in. And
I'm just playing with you because ears to you and me means headphones.
In ears.
To the general people listening.
Yeah. Good joke. But
it didn't land. But
sorry.
It's always awkward when you have to explain your joke, isn't it?
Well, everyone else might get it, and I'm the only one who goes, no, he didn't have ears. Yes, in ears. Sorry, you're right. I got to correct myself there, or at least speak in layman terms. But
leave a comment under the video with a picture of an ear or something.
Please.
If
you thought that joke,
the joke landed for you.
So he didn't have any fold back in ears, anything like that. So he was playing without a click, and honestly, his timing was just spot on. So, you know, and I've got so much respect for a drummer. Like I play a lot with click, even with this gig that I'm doing. I've just set up so I've got click to keep the tempo going. Obviously, it's different when you've got singers who need to follow along and it's a big show like that. But also for me to just make sure I lock in, I'm always more comfortable with a click. And, I can easily just switch them on and off as I need to and stuff. But it's just good to see drummers who can really lock in without having to have a metronome in their ears the whole time. So a lot of respect for those guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think watching it, watching the players play lets you see that subtlety of all the musicians, and the way they film it I find is really interesting as well. They have changed up their style a little bit recently, but in all their earlier episodes, they often have like one videographer cruising around just handheld with one camera, and they're sort of framing stuff as they go. So as the music's developing, it might be a drum moment or it might be a guitar moment. The camera's sort of cruising over the drums, filming the drums there, and now we're about to go to a guitar lick, and they move over here to show the guitar, then they're back to the vocalist to show the lyrics, and then moving around the group. And it's fun because as you're watching the camera move around showing all the different players, it's almost leading your ears in a way where you start noticing, like it makes you hone in on all those different parts that they're playing. Do you notice that?
It's a really good thought. I was even just thinking then that the idea of them revealing stuff as well, right? So they might start with the drums, might start with the drum beat and they're in on the drummer, and you're like, who else is in the room? And then they might start revealing the people. So, even I was watching Sweet Child of Mine, which was, Guns N' Roses, and great cover. Like I've played that song a million times in the cover band I used to play in years ago, and I hate that song now because I'm kind of like that because I've played in a cover band that played all the hits. I hate going to weddings because they just play all the classic rock tunes, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I reckon I've played it more than the band. Like that's how frustrating it gets. But hearing it in a new way was exciting. But, they reveal who the singer is just as he starts singing. You see the rest of the band, and then they pull away and you get to see the singer, as they pan out and stuff. But it is a great use of the camera just to reveal stuff. And I think that thought of focusing your ears, or they focus your ears for you is fantastic. Like I didn't even think of that. It's such a good thought. Because a lot of the times, then you don't have to use the mixing to go, let's bump that thing up a little bit louder and then maybe bring it down, which is a great technique that I heard ages ago, that like you might boost an element that is you want to be predominant or, obvious, but then you just slowly bring it back in the mix and people still hear it because they focused on it at first and then it blends into the mix, where that idea that, they don't have to do that because visually they're giving you those cues is really cool. I love that. I did notice that they have now in some of the more newer songs, they've multicam, up to 4 cameras. And it's interesting. It's a different vibe. And maybe they're, changing it up just because they want to do something new. It could even be a budget thing. At the start, they were really building the channel. And maybe it was just that they couldn't afford to have multiple cameras. To me, it seemed more of a creative idea and almost to keep it a bit lo-fi. But definitely like it's a change having the multicam, and I almost think it's not the same. Like it's nice to be able to see lots of stuff.
There's something simple that I like about the one camera technique, which is the same simplicity that I love in their recording and the way of not putting too many mics around things, being really thoughtful about the microphone they put on something. It seems that they're trying to capture the authenticity rather than capture everything in a modern way where you have all the options and then later decide what you want to do with it. And they're kind of like creating that magic there, right there in the room on the spot. And the camera is almost a performance as much as the music is a performance when there's one camera, because if the camera goes over the drummer at the moment the singer starts singing, they have to think creatively. They have to swing the camera around. They have to think, how can I beautifully go from here over to the singer in a way that feels like it should, because with one camera there's no cuts. Yeah. So it's a 3.5 minute performance of the operator.
And that also, as a person watching, that shows how impressive they are that they did the whole thing in one take. If they do camera cuts, who's to say they didn't cut multiple takes together, So
a bit of Hollywood
a bit of Hollywood magic. Yeah. So it is
Yeah.
that it gives you that
That's a good
idea
point.
that it's all one take from the band as well as the camera person as well. So yeah, very cool.
What do you think makes covers so interesting? Because I listen to a lot of music that isn't covers, but I've been really attracted to covers lately, done in different ways.
Look, I would say that for people hearing these songs, whatever the song would be, most people have a connection to that song, whether it was, they used to make mixtapes or they confess their love to their lover, with a song or whatever. So the idea, and even for me, it's like, you hear a band like Daft Punk or something, and, I love Daft Punk and the way they revolutionized electronic music and how creative and amazing they were. And then to hear Pomplamoose do a cool version, like even I sent you today, what were they called? Galactic. I got to look them up again. Galactic Empire. So Galactic Empire, and I've heard. Oh, it's playing. Whoops. Galactic.
Don't get us taken
Yeah,
down.
that's it. Galactic Empire. They a metal band that just do Star Wars covers. So they literally, cover theme songs, whatever. And they're just touring band now, and they've been. I think it's made up of band members from other groups who write their own original stuff, and they're just like killer metal band who just do Star Wars covers. And for me, even if I don't love it all, or sometimes, it could be too intense, I'm not a huge metal person. Like I say that, but Carnival, who are progressive metal band, are one of my favorite bands, but I don't listen to metal other than that, really.
You might be more of a metal person than you think.
No, well, maybe, but I don't listen to metal music much outside of them. But there's something about hearing that nostalgic Star Wars sound or, score, but just in a whole new way. Like, and it is that thing of like the nostalgic or the memories you have of, hearing the opening tune of Star Wars when it first hits the screen and the Star Wars logo pans back. That moment is always exciting. Even when they bring out the new Star Wars, every time I'm like waiting for that. And you're just like, the hype that it gives you is so good. And so to hear a metal band shredding that song, it's just exciting and it's different. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's some really good points. For me, I've been trying to think about this lately because back getting obsessed again with Scary Pockets, I was thinking to myself, what is it that I'm really liking about it other than just the sound of everything as a sound lover? And I think it's knowing some of these songs and knowing some of the lyrics and some of the melodies. It's almost like listening to these songs again for the first time, but they're different.
Yeah.
And there's different things, and there's going to be surprising elements and new guitar parts, new keyboard parts that I've never heard before, but with enough of familiarity and enough of newness that it feels like a new experience. But I'm already like, it's like I've already heard it once because I know the lyric and I know the chorus, so I know what's coming.
Yeah.
So it's like this mixed excitement of I know what's happening, but it's also fresh. I don't know how else to say it. But that for me is really interesting.
Yeah.
And I always think to myself when I'm working with an artist in the studio about making their song, even when you think of in a song context of like your verses, your choruses, and your bridges, is you want to recycle enough elements so that the listener or the person enjoying your song feels like that they can catch on to something. So you give them a hook somewhere in the first third of the song, and you want to make sure you bring that hook back so that when the listener hears that hook again, they feel smart and they go, I know this bit. I can hum along to this bit. And I think the songs that subconsciously, the songs that do very well are very hooky. They really recycle motifs or melody ideas or rhythmic ideas enough times that the everyday listener feels intelligent listening to the song and they feel smart because they're like, I know, oh yeah, this part's again, I can hum along to this bit. I feel good about this bit. That's why simple choruses tend to be great pop songs because they're easy to remember and they're easy to sing along to. And you want to make sure you have your chorus multiple times. And I think listening to a cover is almost like that, but for a whole song. The whole song feels familiar, but also there's all these new, what I like to call earworms, which is like interesting things that catch your ear It's like an ear, like there's a worm in your. I don't know why I call it an earworm.
Yeah, yeah.
I just think of it as an earworm catching your ideas. So, and that's the way I think of it too when working with an artist in the studio is that we want a foundation that's familiar, but we want to be throwing in earworms everywhere for the listener to go, oh, that's a cool sound. Oh, that's really interesting, that transition and how they did that.
Yeah.
And as someone who loves funk music and old school music, I think they bring the modern songs that I find myself I enjoy, but I probably connect with older music a bit more these days. Or I probably connect with music where musicians are performing more than electronic music. And they're taking some newer tracks, new pop tunes. They're a little bit more studio produced, and because everyone's a musician and they're all playing it, for me, there's a soul in it.
Yeah. I guess it's the same when you go see like certain pop artists, you'll go see them live. You know, I've seen Justin Timberlake live or whatever, and I know, you know, some of his elements or a lot of his elements would be played live. But when they do almost like a remake of the song, because they've got a band now, you got a drummer who can hit mad fills and his tunes are funky as. So like when you see it with a full band, you know, almost half an orchestra and stuff, they really like get every element played by a band rather than just using solid tracks like that. I'm sure they have tracks in these vocals and things like that, but to see a band play a song and that new arrangement is always way better than just hearing the original, you know, when it's just a bit more static or, you know, just less feel, I guess. I'm loving like, you know, with Scary Pockets, like I watched the, is it Viva La Vida Coldplay and stuff, and they definitely have some of the elements from the original song so that it feels familiar, but, you know, the way they do it, the instrument they choose or how they do variations of it is what keeps it fresh and different. I watched I Want to Dance with Somebody, and I didn't really love, so that's Whitney Houston. I don't love the original that much or even particularly love that track, even their version of it. But the intro was really interesting to see because they had, there's a weird percussive thing in that. If you go listen to the original, it's got just some weird stuff that's probably programmed with a drum machine or whatever, but it sounds a bit weird. Or as I said, I don't love the original, but the way they redid that using the drum kit and a few other things, like all the different elements played, they still kind of made that intro. So as soon as it started playing, you're like, I know this song. And as it came in, it obviously had its own life, but I do find it just really cool the way they are recreating stuff, you know, even if I don't particularly love the whole track, just that part of the track was just really good to watch. And they're just pack of geniuses really and make me want to throw my drumsticks in the bin and sell my drum kit. But, you know, it is what it is. I can't complain.
Musicians are supposed to inspire you. They're supposed to inspire you to play. Never give up.
Yeah. Well, I think that part of my life has changed, or it's past. But anyway.
Well, you've brushed off the sticks and you got back into it last week, so it's a good step.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get you on the drum kit soon.
Yeah.
Again. But that's an interesting point because there's a few songs that I've heard of Scary Pockets covers that I didn't necessarily connect with the original so much, and even songs that I never really thought much to of the lyrics, or I never even like focused on the lyrics of the original so much.
Really?
Never processed them. Yeah. And then I'm hearing the Scary Pockets cover, and I'm like, oh, I know this song. Wow, they're really cool lyrics. I never even thought about the lyrics. So it's making me rediscover music that I never even gave the chance to discover, but in a whole new way, which has given me more respect as well for those original songwriters and thinking, you know, maybe the music of the original artist, the way that they arranged it just didn't connect with me musically, but there's a lot of cool lyrics and a lot of cool ideas in the song.
Yeah, it's really good.
Or a good story.
So, Ben.
Do you think...
oh, you go.
Oh, yeah?
You go.
You got a question?
You go.
I was just going to say, I like watching performances on YouTube. I like listening to Apple Music and Spotify as well, of course. But there's something about watching players play that I find not only a lot of fun, but it really connects me with the sounds that I'm hearing. Do you think that filming the Scary Pockets episodes as well as just releasing it on Spotify adds something?
Well, it adds to their bank account for sure.
Get that sweet YouTube money.
Yeah, well, I would say that the reason they're able to just keep doing what they're doing is because they've got lots of streams of revenue. And these days, to be honest, like streaming, just say on Spotify and stuff. And I actually was watching the playlist, which is on, I think it's on Netflix. So it's about the start of Spotify. And even all the legal stuff, they show you kind of every angle. So they show it from the artist, from the lawyer, from the guy who started it, the guy who's the money. Thought I heard something that was weird. So the playlist explains all the legal side of things and how basically the record labels and Spotify screwed the artist out of money. And so I think you get something like 0.0004 cents per stream or something like that. Like it's
that's a big money.
It's just, and you know, only the massive artists that are getting millions, if not billions, of streams online are actually making bank. Most people are making, you know, $500 a month or whatever. Like, as in the artists that you would think are decent, not your Taylor Swifts or whatever, who are just making bank. It's like pretty much what you would have thought was a big artist, but maybe just not commercially as big. And so they need to make money, and I think making ad revenue off YouTube videos is a better thing for them. And so the fact they're adding that video element, which clearly like people want, because I was looking through their videos and their top one's got something like 20 million views, and that's showing people want to watch as well as listen. And there's, you know, we've already said it, but it's nice to be able to listen to them on Spotify and go for a run, but it's also nice if you want to chuck it on the TV or just sit and watch and listen and admire. There's room for it all. And I think there's definitely that's missing. I would say a lot of artists should be doing that. And there's a missed opportunity. Like we talk a lot about big organizations who are putting on shows, and they put on a show for a few months and it disappears in the ether. And I'm like, how many hundreds of thousands of people would want to see that show? And they should be putting it online. You know, it doesn't all have to be for free and just take ad revenue. But to be honest, they probably make as much money putting it up for free and getting ad revenue than they would if they were selling tickets, because it's just more widely accessible. But obviously there's all legal issues with copyright and stuff. So it's complicated. But for a band like Pomplamoose, they're just probably paying the mechanical royalties and the writers' royalties that they have to pay. And then, or they, who knows, they may not be for YouTube, but I'm sure, you know, as I said, these days with distributors, it's easier to pay for those rights to be able to use to make covers and stuff. So it's great.
So when a band does a cover, the original artist who owns the song, wrote the song, they get a little compensation.
Yes.
When the cover gets played.
Well, I don't know how it works with YouTube. They would probably have to pay per listen. These days, if you've got there's an online distributor, a lot of the times when you put the song in and if you say it's a cover, you can say who the original writers are and they take care of paying their royalties off all your streaming services and stuff. So I don't know how that works for YouTube, whether they would have to manually do it themselves. But yes, the original writers.
It's good to know that.
Yeah. Well,
if you're watching or you're listening to covers, that you are in a way still supporting the original artist.
Yeah. I'm not suggesting all of them are doing the right thing though, but you would hope so.
We'd hope so.
Yeah.
We'd hope so.
But there'd be people like, I've seen there's a young guy who does covers on Instagram and he plays the violin and he does like cinematic scores of tunes and it's just him with the one violin and he'll overdubs and does like loops and stuff. I'm sure he's not for the amount of streams he gets on TikTok and stuff, but he then releases, I think, a lot of these tunes on Spotify and he definitely would be paying for it there. But it's good. It supports everyone. It supports the original writer. It supports artists to get their names out there. Obviously, like Scary Pockets, that's all they do is covers. I'm sure they've got original stuff as well. And this is supporting that.
I'd love to see some original stuff from them, actually.
Yeah, well, they're nailing what they're doing. So I'd rather them focus on that and keep doing it. But you're right. It would be great to see them doing other stuff. But they probably do. Like the thing with Scary Pockets is they obviously interchanging the band so much that maybe they don't have a band that's just a set group and just do originals. But yeah. I know.
Well, I guess the band is Ryan and Jack as a duo, and the rest of the band is
Yeah.
people that they bring
Well,
in to
Pomplamoose
feature. And
Pomplamoose are doing originals though. So because Pomplamoose is Jack and his wife, can't remember her name,
Mhm.
and she sings, but I'm pretty sure they do a bunch of originals with Pomplamoose as well as covers.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's a bit hard to keep up with all their bands because I've just realized they got another channel called Stories, which
yeah,
I don't know what that's about, but that's also the same musicians again. So they're taking over the YouTuberverse.
yeah, they are in that
for sure.
genre for sure, and good
But
on.
I'm not upset because it's really
Yeah,
great stuff.
that's it.
Um,
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
Disney do more Star Wars and Scary Pockets, make
yeah,
more
just
covers,
make more content.
Yeah,
The thing I think about content is if it's not for you, you can just move right
Yeah.
along. Like you don't have to watch it. So I think everyone, if they got an idea or something they want to make, they should make it and put it out there because there'll be an audience for you. It's not everything's for everyone. And like I said before, the people who it's not for, they can just close the tab or they can click onto the next video.
or
So-
write back to you and say, "Stop sending me tunes. I don't want to hear anymore."
Yeah, or get angry in the comments and be like, I hate this so much.
But
You've wasted 10 minutes of my time watching it.
because they wouldn't have wasted it elsewhere watching some other crap anyway. But all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Ben, let's go with Ben's top tip. So I'm going to ask you, in the theme of this conversation, how do you, or how do other people, or how should other people discover new music in 2023? What's the best way for you to find new tunes, new bands, new vibes? What do you do?
That's interesting. I'll tell you what I would do. It might not be the best way, but what I would do and how I've been discovering new artists are two main things. YouTube, I think that that's a fantastic way to find new artists. And what I would do and how I've found new artists is to search for artists that you like already, that you know that I really like this artist. They got a lot of great tunes. So search their artist and click on one of their videos and then look at the right side or underneath the video to the playlist. And YouTube will often suggest other videos to you based on what you've clicked on. And I found that I've discovered so many incredible artists just by having a scroll through that playlist because you're kind of telling YouTube, this is what I'm into, suggest me more stuff that I also might be into.
Yeah.
So it's kind of using the YouTube's algorithm for what it's designed to do and give you interesting stuff that it thinks you'll like. And the more artists that you put into your own YouTube searches, and it works best if you're logged into YouTube. So
Good
it can
tip.
make a profile about you, and it will just put together all these keywords of everything you've searched, and then all of a sudden it'll start generating search suggested videos and artists that you may not have heard, but it thinks you'll like based on your previous searches. So I've discovered a lot of cool music that way. And in a similar way, Spotify Radio or Apple Playlist Radio, I'm not sure if that's what they call it, an Apple Playlist Radio or not, but I know Spotify Radio is a great way to discover new music. You can either go to the Spotify Radio tab and just choose a genre or a mood. It'll curate a playlist for you. And you can listen to new music and copy it across to your playlists. Or you could go to one of your playlists that you've already created and you can ask Spotify to make a radio playlist from your playlist. So say you've got like a mixtape playlist of this is like my Sunday tunes.
Britney Spears.
When I'm just reading a book. Yeah. Mostly Britney Spears.
Yeah, that's your Sunday tunes.
Spice
isn't
up
it?
your life.
Yeah. No, that was
Is that?
that's Spice Girls.
Oh yeah, that's true. That shows how much I like Britney Spears.
Hit me, baby, one more time. Well, you like Toxic
Yeah,
though. Remember, I showed you Toxic, two-way, 2WEI, is it? Two-way did that orchestral cover. It's one of my favorites of their covers. But she had some hits, mate.
Orchestral cover, that was fun. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, for
as
sure.
you were saying.
For sure. Yeah, so really leverage those radio features because I've discovered a lot of cool artists from that. And the way that I like to use it is either go to a mood on Spotify. So if you're just feeling like a chill Sunday, you can go to find like a chill Sunday playlist and discover new artists that way. Or if you've made your own playlist, go into your own playlist and there's a button there that you can click Make Radio Playlist. And it will look through all the artists and songs in that playlist and put together a fresh, brand new playlist with none of those same tunes. And it will mix in a whole bunch of different artists that it thinks you'll like. So that would be my recommendation of how to find
Great
new
tips there,
tunes.
including like the idea that you have to log into YouTube is awesome. As in, that is a great tip as well, because it is good
Yeah.
that it knows what you've been searching. So that's cool. I actually the other day, so sometimes we're having dinner as a family and we might be like, oh, put some music on, and I said to Mabel to chuck some tunes on, and so Mabel, she's almost 8, gets on there and looks up Dinner Chill on, I think it was on Spotify. So I mostly use Apple Music these days so I can listen to spatial audio, but Sia still has Spotify. And it was Dinner Chill, and it starts, I'm not even going to bother finding the track, but honestly, you should check it out, Ben, if you do have Spotify. I'm not sure that you do these days, but it will play anywhere, right? You can get the free version because it's just a playlist. But the track that it starts with, I can't remember, it's Hey Yo or something. I don't know. It's got a word, but there's actually, it was live performed. I've seen the live video of 2 guys in a studio at Red Bull Studio performing it. And it started with that track, and I'm like, I love this track. And then the playlist was amazing. And I was like, who put this on? I didn't know at the time, sorry, that Mabel did. The tunes just started playing, and I was like, what's this playlist? And Mabel's like, it's Dinner Chill. I was like, this is awesome. And she just found it herself. But it was a great way to discover. And within that playlist is kind of that Pomplamoose, kind of funky, just great dinner music vibes. And even my 7-year-old nailed it. So
Yeah.
it is great. Good tip.
Well, in the taste of this conversation of finding new tunes, we'll put a few of our favorite Scary Pockets covers in the description underneath to kick off your Scary Pockets journey.
Yeah, sounds
so maybe
good.
a couple from you and a couple from me. So if you're looking to, dive deep into the Scary Pockets universe, which I would recommend, there's so many videos. And just for a couple of stats, I pulled this earlier. Scary Pockets have 373 videos, so 373 covers, more or less. I think there's a couple of behind the scenes and a couple of little chats in there, but more or less there's 370 covers. And they've had 357 million views on their channel to date. Huge. So there's a lot of love for them out there.
Yeah.
So make sure you check out a couple of our suggestions underneath. And we want to hear too, if there's some cool artists that you've discovered, drop us a comment and let us know what you're listening to. I'm sure both of us would love to.
Yeah, always keen to
find some new artists ourselves.
Yeah, always keen to discover new music. That'd be great.
All
right, mate.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for chatting Scary Pockets with me.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Catch you next week.
Bye.
Bye.